sun is setting over the snowy landscape, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple as it dips below the horizon. Inside a cozy longhouse, the last rays of sunlight stream through the opening, illuminating a group of men and women gathered around a table. Among them sits a young woman named Gudrun, her face etched with worry. It was a chilling call, one that spurred the villagers into immediate action. The memory of her stand against Ivar the Boneless was a beacon of inspiration for the people of Hrafnsvik, her courage echoing in the halls of their longhouse. Long after the echoes of battle had faded away, yet life in Hrafnsvik was not solely defined by warfare and glory. It was also a tapestry of everyday resilience. The land, though occasionally yielding bountiful harvests, was as unpredictable as the sea. Droughts and floods were harsh reminders of their dependence on nature's whims. And the winters, with their icy grip, tested their mettle. Through it all, the community held fast. They shared resources during lean times, comforted those who suffered losses, and celebrated together when fortune smiled upon them. In the quieter moments, in the soft glow of lamplight, as tales of heroism were exchanged, there was also room for love and family. Marriages were celebrated with feasts, the laughter of children filled the longhouses, and the cycle of life continued. Theirs was a world where the mundane and the epic intertwined, where the threat of a neighboring king's army could loom large one day, only to be followed by the simple joy of a successful fishing expedition the next. The saga of their lives was written not just in battles and victories, but also in the everyday acts of courage and kindness that made up their existence. In the tapestry of their lives, each thread, no matter how grand or humble, wove a richer, more resilient fabric. And so life in Hrafnsvik continued, a testament to the enduring spirit of a community that balanced the thrill of adventure with the warmth of home, the allure of battle with the comfort of hearth and kin. In a flurry of activity, the women and children took cover in the longhouses, their voices hushed with fear. Meanwhile, the men, their faces grim, their weapons held high, raced to the village's edge. From their vantage point, they watched as Ivar's army descended upon them, their numbers seemingly endless. But despite the overwhelming odds, the villagers of Hrafnsvik did not waver. Their formation was a study in discipline and strategy. Thorkel, at the center, was a bulwark of strength, his shield a wall of defiance against the incoming onslaught. Round him, the men of Hrafnsvik stood shoulder to shoulder, their shields interlocked, forming an impenetrable barrier. And behind this solid wall of defense stood the women, their spears poised, ready to strike at any opening the enemy might present. The first wave of Ivar's army crashed against them, but to their surprise, it faltered. The disciplined ranks of Hrafnsvik held firm, their unity making them a formidable force. Blows were struck and parried, steel sang, and the air filled with the shouts of warriors and the clash of arms. Despite their valiant efforts, it became clear that the army's sheer numbers would eventually tell. As the battle raged on, casualties mounted, and the hope of victory began to dwindle. Even Thorkel, with a wound seeping crimson down his arm, felt the weight of defeat pressing upon them. Just when it seemed that all was lost, a figure emerged from the heart of the battle. It was Gudrun, her face pale with exertion, her eyes blazing with determination. She carried a large vase filled with a glowing liquid, which she splashed over the heads of the weary defenders. A cheer went up as the men, invigorated by the mysterious draught, renewed their assault. In the ensuing chaos, Gudrun slipped past the stunned soldiers, making her way to Ivar himself. She confronted him, not with a weapon, but with words, challenging him to a single combat. Her voice rang with power, demanding that the outcome of the battle depend not on the strength of numbers, but on the skill and courage of two warriors. Startled by this unexpected challenge, Ivar hesitated, taken aback by her audacity. But his hesitation was short-lived. The promise of glory, of a tale worth telling, outweighed his surprise. He accepted her challenge, and soon the two stood facing each other, their weapons of choice, swords instead of shields. The crowd parted, their cheers echoing around them, as the battle between man and woman commenced. Her father, Thorkel, a renowned Viking warrior, has just returned from a long voyage, and with him, he brings news that threatens to shake their world. He tells tales of a great army led by Ivar Ragnarsson, a formidable Viking ruler, who has set his sights on conquering new territories. Thorkel, along with his brother Agnar and a small band of loyal companions, had encountered this force during their travels and had barely managed to escape with their lives. Now, fear hangs heavy in the air as everyone realizes the impending danger that looms over their peaceful village. The threat of war and the possibility of losing their homes and loved ones weigh heavily on their minds. Everyone is debating what they should do. Some advocate for staying put, believing that their remote location might offer some protection from the approaching danger. Others argue for immediate action, suggesting that they should flee and seek refuge in a distant land before it's too late. As the discussion reaches a fever pitch, tensions rise, and the weight of their impending fate presses down on the villagers. However, amidst this turmoil, Gudrun remains strangely calm. While others panic, she finds herself oddly serene. Her mind races, calculating the risks and possibilities, trying to find the best course of action for her and her family. Though her heart pounds in her chest, betraying her anxiety, her face remains composed, betraying nothing of the internal struggle that rages within her. As the conversation continues throughout the night, the fate of the village hangs in the balance, and all eyes turn to Thorkel, hoping for guidance in this time of crisis. In the following days, Thorkel's words echoed like a death knell in the peaceful village of Hafensvik, rousing it from its tranquil rhythm. No one could deny the validity of the tales he told, and the looming threat of Ivar Ragnarsson's army cast a long shadow over their idyllic lives. Fear turned to resolve as the villagers prepared to face their fate head-on. They knew that flight was not an option. Their homes, their farms, their very identities were rooted in this land, so they chose to stand and fight. Under Thorkel's leadership, the men of Hrafnsvik transformed into fierce warriors, their determination burning brightly in their eyes. They sharpened their axes and swords, their every move echoing the battle cries of their ancestors. The women, equally resolute, took up their own weapons, their presence no longer confined to the domestic sphere. They wielded spears and shields, forming a formidable defense alongside their male counterparts. As the men prepared for battle, Gudrun stepped forward, her voice ringing with authority. With a strategic mind honed by years of making crucial decisions for her household, she rallied the women, organizing them into a tight-knit unit. She taught them how to use their weapons effectively, how to protect themselves and each other, and most importantly, how to fight as a team. Every swing of the shield, every thrust of the spear was a testament to their newfound strength and unity. Days turned into weeks, and with each passing moment, the threat of Ivar's army loomed larger. Yet the villagers of Hrafnsvik stood firm, united, and prepared to defend their way of life. The tranquility of their village, once cherished, was now replaced by the clang of steel on steel, the murmur of strategy, and the unbreakable bond of a community ready to face its fears and fight for its very survival. As the army approached, the lookout sounded the alarm, his voice echoing across the landscape. Years passed since the fateful battle, and the story of Gudrun's valor became a saga whispered around hearths and woven into tapestries.